it's not only Europe that's heading for a recession, it's also China. It's on track for a recession in autumn, meaning the third quarter, and of course, even worse for the fourth quarter of this year. Risk of entrenched inflation for the whole world. China could tilt the whole world into a global recession if its economy continues to slow down. That's a dire economic outlook that could worsen the cost of living crisis. This is according to an economist. China has seen a significant slowdown in services and manufacturing due to a drop in sales caused by global inflation around the world. Fears mounting over the probability of China's slowing economic growth could plunge the whole world into a recession, and it could aggravate the cost of living crisis. China, the world's largest economy, has seen its GDP target for 2022 fall from 5.5% to 3.9%, increasing the risk of a global recession. A report by the global bank Citi Group has found the world faces a 50-50 chance of falling into a recession. And I'm not an economist, but I am an accounting major, and I think he's very conservative in his outlook. It should be worse than that. Speaking to CNN, Citi Global Chief Economist Nathan Sheets said, "For the moment, I am much more worried about the strength of Chinese activity." He said, "Over the last couple of months, we marked down our growth outlook for China appreciably, and now we're 3.9% for this year, well below their 5.5% growth rate. But if we don't see more economic stimulus there is a meaningful risk that that ultimate number might even be lower than 3.9%. We're seeing a distinct slowing in China's economy," he said. And he adds, "And if you took that and layered it down onto the other risks that are here right now, central banks tightening, inflation, energy prices, and overall uncertainty, if we get a Chinese recession on top of that, then I think we need to mark up those probabilities, recession, even more than we are at the moment," end quote. So you see, he is being conservative. So it's really about Chinese stability, the Chinese economy, Sheets said. Citi reports state that the likelihood of recession now is a coin flip of 50-50. When asked about his perspective on the data, Sheets said, "I think the bottom line from our report is that we see appreciable recession risk in the global economy. And quite frankly," he says, "my sense is that recession risk is rising, and fundamentally it is attributable to this very high global inflation that's occurring, and it's manifesting itself in many different places, in many different ways, of course, all around the world." Sheets adds, "And that central banks being called into action, and central banks are responsible very vigorously. They respond. They learned from their predecessors in previous generations that high sustained inflation is very painful for the public and very painful for the economy, and they're doing everything they can now to ensure that this inflation does not become entrenched, and that's the challenge of the economy. Its rates are rising, and financial markets are responding adversely as a result of that." On the timing and how fast a recession could happen, Sheets said, "The risk of self-fulfilling onward adjustment and in the consumer spending is something I am quite worried about," he said. "Now, at the moment," he said, "I would say the good news is that we're seeing a meaningful rebalancing through the summer towards services and towards tourism, travel, and restaurant. People are taking the holidays, the vacations that they postponed for the last several years. But as we get into the fall, it's possible that we see a sharper contraction in consumer spending, and recession risks rise on the back of higher inflation, cutting into real income and reducing purchasing power. But also, as you point out, on the back of consumer just kind of getting nervous about the whole contours of the economic situation and pulling back even more than one might have predicted," he says. And this is on Express UK by Thibault Spirlet. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support. and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.